the writing piece, right? And again, students come, I think, in general with really strong language skills and strong writing skills as well, and that kind of intellectually motivated mindset that I was talking about. But what is certainly different is the way in which you write. In that, and from what I remember from when I used to study French literature, right, and teach French, it's the idea of developing an idea from beginning to end, right?
Yeah.
So building and enlarging as you go. And, building on one point and the other and the other and the other, and then like putting everything together at the end. And as you know now, here it's the other way around, right? It's start with the thesis and put everything you want to say in the beginning, and then spend the rest of the paper proving that thesis that you have already articulated early on.
I've definitely noticed trends like the way German students will write, the way French students will write, because of what they've been taught at home. No question.
Yeah.
Shapes of paragraphs, what you put
Right.
into a paragraph.
Exactly.
I remember having a constant struggle last year with a student who insisted that you had to have a certain number of points in a paper. It was like actually an arithmetical thing. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
It's the introduction with the thesis and the answer and some background, and then you paragraph, you develop your argument in paragraphs, put the evidence in. That was a struggle.
Yeah.
And I do notice, and this is obvious, and you'll notice this too, obviously students from certain countries will make consistently the same language mistakes because of their own language.
Yes.
German students' word order.
The commas. I always tell the
Yeah.
German students, they always go crazy with the American commas, and I say, just do the absolute opposite of what you do in German and you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Every year.
Plurals,
year.
articles. I mean,
Yeah.
you can often tell which country someone comes from
Even without the...
by this. Yeah, even if I didn't know, you learn.
Yeah.
That's because Spanish is like this or German is like this. You get to know that.
Yeah. But I think to me, it's really that idea of like the shift from articulating the ideas in the beginning instead of
how you shape a
towards
paper.
them. Exactly.
Yeah. It's the shape of a
And
paper.
of course, you're all super highly developed intellectually. You can understand. So when I say in class, all you have to do is flip it, right? We start with the thesis. Of course, you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
It makes sense, right? You get it. To do it is a whole other story, and it takes a while, and it takes practice. And the first essay that you do doing that never works, and then of course
it works quickly after that.
There's frustration because of course you understand the concept, right? You know what you're supposed to be doing, but it takes a while to produce it. So that's an interesting and that's always sort of a challenge with that particular group. But that once you get it, then it's like, whoo, okay, now I got it and I'm doing it.
Absolutely. And I've actually, you'll be happy to know, next year will be entirely different in History 320.
Oh.
Because I'm not using a textbook. Because I
That's
don't
awesome.
like textbooks, because I don't think they model good language.
Wow.
It's not the kind of prose I want people to write necessarily. Doesn't mean they're bad books, but so I'm going to be using different books, 2 different books next year that are much more prose oriented. So it'll be more useful, I think, as a template for writing too.
And I don't even have
sorry
a
you missed it. It's all different next year.
And I don't even have a textbook.
Right.
In the fall. I mean, I have the grammar book, which is a reference book more than anything.
Sure.
And then we have been for the past, I don't even know, 10 years maybe even longer. I don't know. We've been reading Sula, which has been a book that students have consistently enjoyed and told me to keep. And I also like it because it really is a wonderful way to teach American history, so to speak, right? Because the course is, it's funny, it's called American Studies for International Students. So there's this whole piece about teaching American literature and American culture and what it is to be in this country, which I really like too. So that's a book that allows me to play on all those levels, plus teach close reading, which is
Yes.
which
Yes,
is
yes, yes.
hard to do, but it's a fantastic novel for that.
Yeah, and I think it picks up on some of the themes that I like to extract from US history too.
Yeah.
I don't like that detailed survey,
No.
which sounds like a detailed survey, you know, it's a bit contradictory, but broad survey that happens in 300 personally. So I like to be able to extract things that I think are issues that people look at when they're not in America. They see America in a certain way. Foreign policy is huge, right? America's footprint in the world, issues of race and diversity and ethnicity is huge for people looking from the outside in.
Yeah.
So I tend to pick those stories.
Yeah.
Maybe because I had the same experience as a foreigner. But those issues, I think,
Yeah.
rather than all political, economic issues, I don't do those quite as much.
Oh, yeah, like talking about this idea of like being foreign and like diversity inside the country, like at least personally, and it's something that I have been thinking just in this last period. Like I never thought when I was in Europe, like of let's say white people as a kind of label and like
Yeah.
category under which to put every white person. Well, like here, sometimes in some classes, for example, when I'm taking a class of African American literature right now, and like sometimes I have this feeling that we all go under this label. Well, like I can say, because I have seen that in Europe there's a lot of racism and a lot of racial prejudice and institutionalized racism against like particular white people.
Right.
Like, do you have like this sensation as well? That like here in the United States, like there's this kind of difference.
That racism plays literally in terms of the color of one's skin,
Yeah,
while
you
you're
mean-
saying that their
yeah.
prejudice
Not
operates.
that like white people, like they
I
all
don't think
end
there's
up,
one.
yeah, like they all end up in the same box. Maybe just this is like more a question for you, Mr. Honey, since you like come from
That's a
England.
That's a really good question. One thing I can say, or what I have really noticed in this country is that, and I understand why because of the history, Americans are very concerned with labels
Yes.
and definitions.
Right.
I think it's really contextual and really complicated because I think of the history of my own country and that has become more important now. But it just started more recently, since World War II maybe. Issues of skin colour, I think, are much more recent in England as dividing lines. They have a longer history in this country, for obvious reasons. I find it interesting. I have a friend from Spain who here was determined to be a person of colour. And I really, really didn't know what that meant. And I was forced to think about, well, in America, you know, things are very contextual. So I do get confused by some of these labels sometimes, I really do. And I don't have an answer for it. I don't.
I also think that categories here, I agree, I mean, sort of picking back from that.
Well, you come from a very different place
Yes.
too with regard to that.
Yeah.
It's not the same as the United States.
Yes, but I think that
No, I
this
don't.
idea of labels are also sort of fixed categories
Yeah.
that are even reflected, I mean, as how many times have we talked about it in class? Language, right? So if you think about the verb to be, right, in English, there's only one verb for what in our languages, I don't know Italian, I know Spanish for sure, we have two verbs, right? Ser and
Yes.
estar,
Yeah.
Oh.
which are two different states of being,
I didn't
right?
know that.
Yeah.
One is to be, as in forever fixed, you know, immutable, and the other one is to be in that moment.
Oh, that's
Right?
very different. I didn't know that.
And I think
That's
that
interesting.
when it comes to race and identity on that level, American culture is the fixed,
Yes.
immutable, said, right? You can be only one thing. right?
Yes.
Black or white.
Which I find strange.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to pick, and you know, nowadays people, at least there's this understanding that people can pick, right? If they come from a mixed heritage or, you know, multiple
so many
traditions,
people
they
do.
can still pick.
Yeah.
And there can even be room for being more than one thing, right? We're moving towards a more multi-layered society. But once you pick your that, even if that thing is multi-layered, in where I come from certainly, and I think in other societies, even the language, right, reflects the idea of this fluidity.
That's really interesting.
And especially, I know in Brazil for sure, I can be considered white in certain regions and of color in other regions, right?
Wow.
Depending on the makeup, or even depending on how tanned or not I am at a given moment, right? Because there's so much differentiation. So it's really much more fluid in that sense, I think, than it is here. And here, yes, people like, there's this sense of wanting to be certain